o'clock. I'll open the extraordinary council meeting the 14th of January 2020. In the event of an emergency, the building may be evacuated. You will be required to vacate the building by the rear entrance and gather at the breezeway between the library and the art gallery buildings. This is council's designated emergency muster point. Under no circumstances is anyone permitted to re-enter the building until the all clear has been given and the area deemed safe by authorised personnel. In the event of an evacuation, a member of council staff will assist any member of the public with a disability to vacate the building. Before I go on to this, I wish a happy and prosperous new year to all councillors and people that are in the thing. And I would like to just mention that on the weekend, fortunate demise of Ian Walker, Gino Walker, a lot of people would know him about it. He's a real character of Orange. Unfortunately, passed away from an illness that he's had for quite a while. So I'd like to just show a minute's silence. His funeral is tomorrow. Gentlemen, Ian Walker. All councillors and staff are required to speak into the microphone. You may need to move your microphone closer to you to ensure you are heard and recorded by the live streaming. Your microphone will glow red when it is picking up your voice. Apologies for absence.
Councillors Miletto, Prevatira and Councillor Hamling.
Someone move those, please.
Move that. Yeah, second it.
Councillor Munn, all in favour? Against, thank you.
Could I have some papers, please?
Oh,
Here we go.
yeah, just coming over now. This council meeting has been live streamed and recorded. By speaking at the council meeting, you agree to be live streamed and recorded. Please ensure that if and when you speak at this council meeting, that you ensure you're respectful to others and use appropriate language at all times. Orange City Council accepts no liability for any defamatory or offensive remarks or gestures made during the course of this council meeting. A recording will be made for administrative purposes. I would like to acknowledge the Wiradjuri people who are the traditional custodians of the land. I would also like to pay respect to the elders both past and present of the Wiradjuri Nation and extend that respect to other Aboriginal Australians who are present. Does any councillor wish to declare any conflicts of interest in any matter for consideration at the council meeting? Nope, there are no mayoral minutes. Council now adjourns for the conduct of the open forum. We have one speaker, Ms. Kerry Rains, 8 Carcourt Street, Spring Hill. Thank you.
Good evening, Mr Mayor, fellow councillors. If I'd have known I was the only one, I would have made it longer. I have a brief request tonight relating to our water usage in Orange. I'd like our councillors to consider in their overall discussions this evening. I realise that bore water is a state-regulated issue. However, I think Orange City Council would make an impression with an education campaign for those people who have bores. It seems that quite a number of the community are under the impression that bore water is a never-ending source of water when in fact it's not. Dams, you can actually measure the amount of water we've got left, or 9 times out of 10 you don't know you're running out until it's empty, until it's dry. Education is the key, I think, and also believe that bore users should be on the same water restrictions as the rest of the community. They're on town water. Most of us are coming up with alternative ways and inventive ways to use our wastewater, grey water, to keep some of our plants and trees alive. Some of the plants don't mind that wastewater, others are struggling a little, but that's just the drought. I'm afraid we have to deal with that. But we do need to make sure that we have enough water to drink into the future. And watering lawns, I don't understand why that is on anyone's agenda, especially at this point in time. Level 5 going to level 6. Orange is looking a little bit drab. Normally it's a beautiful looking town, this time of the year even, but it's looking a bit dry. But I'm sure everybody understands that we can do without lawns. And into the future, when the temperatures are predicted to keep rising, it's getting longer, less rainfall, we're going to need to think about what we use our water for. And we are going to have to use that for just food that we produce, obviously, and several old trees maybe. But I would really appreciate that council would consider some kind of education system about the bore water. And I would like to thank you too for keeping the community informed. There's been lots of community engagement and lots of different forms of media informing us on what our water levels are and where we're up to, and I really appreciate that. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Kerry. Now, the council meeting resumes, and item 2 are notices of motion, notices of rescission. 2.1 is water security for Orange.
I'm happy, Mr Chairman, to move that.
Move Councillor Duffy, seconded Councillor Taylor.
Mr Chairman, I'm quite aware that we had a briefing at the end of last year, and I know what exactly said in that, and I probably would like a copy of that briefing if I could. You can even give it to the other councillors if you so wish. But the exact situation of our water supply, we don't actually know. We don't exactly know what we've actually got in megalitres. We don't exactly know what we've got. We don't exactly know. We know what percentages are in the dam. Do we know what percentage of sludge is in those dams? Do we know any of those things at all? We don't know. We also spoke about the level 6, about where we go to it. What does level 6 contain? I'm told that the current level 6, or the one that we instigated back around 10 years ago when we went through the same issue before, is not in vogue anymore. Now, I don't know whether it is in vogue or it is not in vogue if we are reviewing, but there is already confusion out there amongst the public as to regards to what level 6 is. People are saying you can only do 2 loads of washing a week. Well, it doesn't seem realistic, does it? You know, a family has got a 70 or 80 litre washing tub and another one's only got a 30 litre washing tub. A family's got 3 or 4 children and those type of things. Yeah. So 2 loads of washing is not going to work. And those type of things there as regards to that. And there are a lot of other instances what is in level 6, what's there. Level 5 is 5A is not much difference to level 6. But you also must look at the situation if we're working with people. We don't know what we're doing as far as are we restricting trade? And if we tell some people to slow down and to others to keep going full steam ahead. You know, they're issues that we don't know. We didn't receive anything in black and white in regards to the briefing. We'd say where we're at or anything like that there. But there are other issues that we need to actually have a look at. And one of the issues is the Macquarie River pipeline. And that pipeline didn't cost the ratepayers of Orange 1 cent. Not 1 cent. Fully funded by the state and federal governments. But in the meantime, in the last 7 years, I think your water rates have gone up around between 40 to 50%. It's the infrastructure to put water through the veins of your infrastructure that takes it to your house. Now, I can think, and I could be marginally wrong there. There was 3 years in a row when it went up 10, and I think last year 10, 3. But the other issue is there, and I don't know this, and I don't know the answer, and I've already spoken to the director on a number of occasions. How much water have we extracted from the Macquarie River pipeline in the last 3 years? Now, I do know that council brought a block of land off I won't say who it is, which had a water licence of 640 megalitres. So in the last 3 years, that's, irrespective of what the flow is, that's nearly 2,000 megalitres, which is probably more than what's in the actual Spring Creek Dam now. I want to know, did we take that? And then we've got the other stuff which we extracted when the flow was over over 108 megalitres per day. But what is a concern as well is that I'm hearing, and this part I can't guarantee and I can't say, but I'll just say it, and I could be totally wrong as regards to the minister, I believe the minister has had the power to invoke a 32 megalitre flow from day one. But what day did we actually ask for that flow to occur? And if we can disagree whatever we like, but I mean, we need to have this stuff written down and come to us so we can make an informed decision. And we've caused a bit of confusion out there because you've only got to look at social media and where the comments are coming from and what they're actually saying and those type of things there. Even an email that I got today was a little bit strange. The other thing is, and I've spoken to a number of councillors in this room as regards to the projects that are in place now. And in the media it says we've got 12 projects. What are they? Tell me. You can get up and speak if you want to speak. Tell me what the 12 projects are.
Councillor Duffy, I'm going to take all of these on notice and get a reply to all
Mr.
these.
Chairman, when we're talking about when we're talking about something as serious as what this is, which has happened 10 years ago as well, this is very important. And I don't think today is that we're starting taking things on notice is good enough anymore. Because some of these questions I've asked of the directors and the general manager as well, not all of them, but I think we should know them. If we're going to make informed decisions and go out to the public and say, what is level 6A, we should be able to say, this is what level 6A is. No, we've got no idea at the moment. We're going to have a water forum and the same people will turn up and come up and what will come up. The same as what the water forums were you had 10 years ago. I remember being at the water forum at Nassau. Water forum at Nassau. Mr. Warren Bradley hopping up and saying George Wells, George Bradley and another guy by the name pumped water non-stop.
Just wait there, Councillor, I'll move for an extension. Moved Councillor Taylor, seconded. Councillor Romano. Right.
I remember it went non-stop. Had to get permission off O for Electricity at the time to actually turn the pumps on. And it went straight down the creek and into the dam. And as Sparks said, he said the cemetery's not full, is it? There's still plenty of running around. So that was when we're talking about the actual water under Lucknow. And maybe it should be something we should be looking at because I haven't seen any report that tells me what the thing. I haven't fully read that report. If there's one there, let's write that down. I don't mind that whatsoever. But my point goes back to right at the very start. I think transparency of what's going on needs to be here in the chamber and discussed in the chamber here. Always on, no matter what actually happens, we go out to the media. I think that is extremely important. Some of these questions that I got, and I'm pretty sure others may have a question when they hop up and chat as to what goes on. And and that's basically it. Well, I'll just and have a listen to what other councillors have to say.
Well, thank you, Councillor Duffy, for bringing all these things up. But you know, I got to speak up a little bit for what I know that's happened over the last 6 months. The staff have been amazing, as far as I'm concerned, as far as what the information they've given me. My understanding of what has been done, when you go back, what has been done to mitigate drought and mitigate the water shortages, is that we've put the Macquarie pipeline in there. We've got the stormwater harvesting. We've done lots of research. I was only talking to CEO the other day. Went through all these things, and staff have been working extremely hard. I'm sure coming to this chamber or into the council chamber down there, talk to the general manager's office or the CEO's office, staff be given to you and play with staff. That's what we do when we need information out into the public, so that we can pay payers the right information. Don't ask the staff. I know before Christmas we had discussions, staff, in regards to what was going to happen, what our position was. For me, I was happy with that. I don't think we could work any harder. And as the Mayor's stated in many, many times, and you all know it, Orange has been instrumental in how we go about getting water by so many things. I don't know. I don't understand why you brought it up, really. When I got the phone call to put my name to this, Scratchy asked had a quorum that wants it, and I was told yes. That was enough for me. If other councillors wanted to be here, well, that's fine. So that's where I'm at with it. I'm fully aware, and a ratepayer where we're at, asking staff through emails that I've got from discussions. So I'm happy.
Councillor Romano.
Well, Mr Mayor, councillors, I fail to understand how we got to this situation after installing a pipeline, raising Suma Park wall, putting in stormwater harvesting, and I think, I'm not sure, but I think I have an answer. And have we looked at the drinking water environmental flows that have been released from Suma Park, which is our town water? I know that for years, every day there was so much water released. Can that be revoked? Can that be looked at? Because if it does rain and Suma Park fills again, why are we releasing it down the creek? Because if that dam wasn't there, there'd be no water down the creek anyway. That's what I'm bothered with that. Building up. Look, Councillor Nugent, you've got your option to talk after I finish.
Romano.
We'll just ask him to stop interrupting.
I just did.
If Suma Park Dam wasn't there, your frogs and your lizards would have to move on anyway. Okay? So I'm not saying don't release any water, but the amount of water that's been released over the years has had an effect on our storage water. I'd like that revoked. I'd like to know how much water has been released on a daily basis, and whether we can speak with the state government to revoke it and release less water. Obviously, we're not releasing any water at the moment, I'd imagine.
I'll get the director to answer you in a moment.
All right, well, that's a question. Are we releasing any water at the moment?
No, under our existing licence conditions, when we reach 25% combined storage, we no longer are required to release water.
So we're not releasing any water?
We are not from Suma Park Dam, but we do have some environmental flows going down the creek from the water that Adia was so kindly gave back to the community through the treated effluent program.
Okay, so that's treated effluent water. It's grey water. It's not potable water.
Potable water.
Well, that's I don't have a problem with that, but I've got a major problem with the storage of Suma Park releasing so many million litres a day over the last 3 to 4 years and even longer. I think we need to have a good look at that. That's all I've got to say at the moment.
Councillor Romano. Councillor Taylor.
Yeah, Mr Mayor, look, my major concern is this meeting tonight is that it's just for transparency, accountability to take the community with us to get an update. I see the role in the first part of the motion as being one of staff, possibly Mr Greenham and Beattie, to outline where we're actually at as far as our water supply and security is concerned and where we're going as far as the future is concerned. Councillor Romano outlined what we did. I think previous councils did. We put the Macquarie pipeline in. I agree with Councillor Duffy. There needs to be clarification out in the community. People's understanding of the Macquarie pipeline. The Macquarie pipeline is there for security. We, in effect, haven't had normal time, or so-called normal time of rainfall since the pipeline's been in place. So we have not been able to take full advantage of that pipeline. People say to me, how can we have a pipeline to the Macquarie when Orange is low on water? Surely the Macquarie would be low on water. Well, that's not why it's there. It's there for normal time so that we can top up our water supply to give us that added security. You need to really put a statement out at some stage clarifying the role of the Macquarie pipeline. Councillor Duffy is right what he said. Ratepayers didn't pay anything for the Macquarie pipeline. State and federal funded, and Councillor Whitten and I know that. A very good friend of ours was instrumental That's a late Senator Steve Hutchins. So that needs to be clarified. But, Mr Mayor, I think the most important thing is now that we're not going into uncharted waters yet. We were there during the last drought, the situation we are at the moment. But I think what we should be doing is letting the community know every step of the way where we're at almost on a daily basis as far as our consumption is concerned. When people ask me, I say to people, look, from my knowledge, we have around about 12 months water supply without any more rain, and that's a highly unlikely scenario. That's all I can basically tell them at this stage. So as far as what our contingencies are, I know we received the money from the state government for the piping from Spring Creek to the treatment centre and all that. That's all well and good. I think we should be really reinforcing out there to community. Talking about level 6, there was a statement, I think I was talking to Councillor Duffy today, and he said, he read a statement where someone said, doomsday will be May. Well, that's not correct. That's not correct. I think you, Mr Mayor, made statements, Mr Whitwell, statements the other day. That's when we're looking to implement level. But the problem I think we have is that we don't know at the moment what level 6 are. So I think what we have to do is we have to let the community know exactly what we're at, where we're at, and where we're going to be. We're all looking to the heavens and praying that later this week we'll get some reprieve. Let's hope that happens. So that's what I see the purpose here. The other main concern is item 2. Mr Mayor, I've raised this in the chamber before, and I thought this would be an ideal opportunity to officially raise it. I did raise it as a question last time, was to provide the community with some flexibility for watering on Sundays. Now, I think a lot of people have indicated to me they just don't get a chance between 6 and 7 on Sundays. A lot of those people do water at a different time, but they're worried that they're not sticking with the water restrictions. And look, you're not using any more water, but they are the rules. So I'd like to see us be a bit more flexible there, even if we implemented morning hours, Mr Mayor, so that people don't water in the real heat of the day. But if we allow people in the morning, we allowed a larger period in the afternoon, say from 4 till 7 at night or something, to have that half hour's watering in that period. I think that would be good. And say from 6 till 8:30 or 9 o'clock in the morning to water. That would give people that flexibility, particularly older people, because they can't get it done between 7. They then are extremely worried there. We're all losing plants. We're all losing shrubs around town. I've never seen, I think it's unprecedented. Shrubs under stress. Every garden you go past, you see dead plants. I took a heap of dead plants out of my garden last week. So people are getting concerned if they miss that watering opportunity, that window, that they're going to lose more. So I think the ratepayers of this city have all shown ordinary good behaviour as far as water restrictions are concerned. The consumption figures are there. I think we're back to about 137 litres. I just think we should give them that break, to give them that flexibility on the Sunday, not to use any more water, but just have those extra hours, morning and afternoon.
Thanks, Councillor Taylor. Councillor Macquarie.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I'll keep my comments brief. My first concern with the motion in part 1 is that it says their water supply. All are stakeholders in this matter, and I would think it should say our supply. Everyone who lives and works in Orange really has concern for this matter, so I do have some concerns about their being used. I would congratulate, particularly I know the Deputy Mayor this week on his work on community radio, continuing to promote through every opportunity we have across council the reality of the water supply situation in a factual manner, engage with the community. That's included forums last year. It includes upcoming forums. We have the electronic notice boards around town. There's been flyers in rates notices. It's on the website, on social media. I'm not quite sure how residents are not informed. I know that it's probably the number one topic people are asking me about, and that I think they are quite well informed, and they are appreciating the proactive approach of council in giving them information about the water supply situation. I also dispute that we haven't been kept up to date. As far as I recall, we receive regular reports in our council papers on the water storage amounts and the usage, so I'm not quite sure why there's a sense that we don't know how much water we have. Or how much we're pumping from the Macquarie pipeline or from bores. I'm fairly sure that that's included in those reports on a regular basis. And I certainly, take those reports very seriously, and it's kept us informed over the last, particularly 18 months, of the water situation. When it comes to environmental flows, look, to be honest, I think we've got to keep the water for the drinking supply, for human consumption and for hygiene. But my understanding of dams is if there wasn't a dam, all the water would go down the creek. So I'm not quite sure how a dam or environmental flows are actually fitting into this motion. But of course, the details of the Cadia payback for effluent has been appreciated for environmental flows, but I don't actually see how it's relevant to this motion. Look, my view of this is pretty simple. If there's a sense that residents should be advised of more details of our water supply situation, I'm not going to be against it. But we do need to show leadership in terms of council's plan for water for the city, because it is something that's of concern to our residents. Many people who are saying to me that they will stop watering their garden. They do not think there should be any watering of gardens apart from the use of their grey water. So I think there is quite a divided city regarding whether our potable water should at all be used on gardens at the moment, and that unless you can figure out through buckets or through your own grey water reuse, the gardens are going to continue to suffer. I'm sad to see that, but I indeed will not be watering gardens that I'm responsible for with our drinking water supply from last week onwards, since we made this announcement of the level 6 progress. I'll be happy to support the motion, particularly part 1, if there's a sense that our water supply could be better communicated. Not particularly happy with motion 2. I think it makes it hard to enforce, but look, if it's going to keep people happy, I worry.
Councillor Newton.
Thanks, Mr Mayor. Look, I have a question. The question is, why are we actually here tonight? To me, when I look at this motion, this two-part motion, in terms of the first part, as far as I can see, it's redundant. We came out with a major announcement last Thursday, as we discussed at the last meeting last year. We came out with an announcement. That announcement was very well attended by the media. It got TV coverage, press coverage. I'm not sure about radio, but as Councillor Macquarie pointed out, the Deputy Mayor's been on community radio. So been out there, and Councillor Macquarie has also outlined all of the steps that have been taken to inform the community. I drive, out of the Woolies car park every, a number of mornings each week, and there on the board is our daily usage. It's right there. I commend, as Councillor Munro did, I commend the staff team, Mr Greenham and his team, who have done a tremendous amount of work looking at every possible way that we can increase our water security, increase the flow of water into our raw water supplies, and to stave off level 6 for as long as we possibly can. That was the tone, that was the main message from the announcement last Thursday, that you, the Mayor, and our CEO and Mr Greenham all spoke at. So we've been out there, we've been talking to the community. I'm not sure what else we could be saying. I do take some issues with some of the things that have been said. It seems to me a little bit like, when I read this motion, there was echoes of the bushfires, in the sense of people casting around trying to seem to be doing something about the issue. And it also some of the statements that have been made tonight, I think, have been somewhat misleading. So in terms of nothing in black and white, I don't think that is true. We received the draft media release with a whole lot of detail about our water supply and where we're going. As Councillor Macquarie has pointed out, we get that monthly report. That is a public document. It's out there in the public sphere. So nothing in black and white. I do not understand that at all. The Macquarie pipeline, I thought we did. There was council funds that went into that. I thought it was a sort of three-way partnership between council, state and federal, but I wasn't on council at the time, so I'm happy to be corrected about that. In terms of environmental flows, Councillor Romano is talking about trying to cut those. I'd be very concerned about doing that unless there's very good scientific evidence that that is not going to significantly impact on the ecosystem downstream. We have environmental flows for a particular reason, and that's to keep the creek alive, keep the various species that depend on that creek alive. And already the stormwater harvesting that we do, which is a fantastic scheme, does take water out of the Macquarie, out of Spring Creek. Sorry, not Spring, Summer Hill Creek already. So I would be very concerned about cutting environmental flows or making any changes to environmental flows. So to me, when I look at this motion, I think it's already been done. We knew it was going to be done on the 17th of December last year. So why are we here? The second part of the motion, I have some of the same concerns about. I think if we were going to do that, about increased flexibility, we should have done that last year when Councillor Taylor first raised it. I think now is not the right time, since we've just gone out with a major announcement talking about level 6 restrictions being coming up on the 1st of May, and that we're doing everything possible to stave that off. Then we're talking about increasing flexibility of time that people can water, which is inevitably is going to increase the level of water consumption that we make. I have been approached by some ratepayers who've said it would be better to actually do it in the morning. That's more efficient time to water, and I'm not sure whether that's the case or not. So maybe the alternative might be to move it to sort of 7 o'clock to 8 o'clock in the morning, perhaps, and then that doesn't clash with people's usage in the evening. But I'm concerned about mixed messages. I'm concerned about people getting confused and thinking that if we extend the time that you can water, that's also extending the time that they can actually hold a handheld hose and water. So I do have concerns about part 2 of the motion for those reasons. So I'm very happy to talk about water as often and as long as possible. And I'm very happy to see transparency, but I think we've been very transparent, and I think I would like to commend again the staff for the work that they've done in keeping the public informed.
Thanks, Councillor Nugent. Councillor Whitten.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I don't begrudge any councillor's right to ask for a meeting to discuss matters of concern to the community, and this is a concern to the community. I'm just going to come straight to the point. The people in the community are scared, and whilst we have a number of ways of communicating to the community, and we all talk to different parts of the community, some are well versed, some are not, some just don't understand. And the more that we can come together as elected councillors, because it's our job. If some councillors don't want to be here tonight because they've got other things better to do, they don't understand why a motion is here because of we are going into level 6 water, then that's something they need to think about next time they run for an election. But we are here to try and to get communication better. We all agree the communication and the staff are doing a fantastic job. You've only got to read on social media some of the questions that are being asked. And I thought, and through you, Mr Mayor, to the CEO, that whilst I don't want our staff to be tied up in answering questions on social media, because I know that can be an endless loop if you keep that loop going, there are some relevant questions being asked. And I think our staff will be able to answer something like, why aren't we dredging the dams while they're empty? Why aren't we doing this, that and the other? The facts of the matter are we are in a drought that is not just in Orange, but the entire eastern seaboard of this country has been going for 5 years. Now, if you look at what we did some years ago to try and future-proof the water for Orange, considering we don't have a river, put in the pipeline. we put in bores, we put in stormwater harvesting, the first of its kind done. The fact of the matter is the reason we can't draw water from the river because we rely on all the other catchments to fill the river up somewhere else. They're in drought as well. So we've got all these mechanisms in place. An unfortunate fact of circumstances in history that we can't use them because all the other areas aren't acting as they should be as well because they're in drought. These are the things that we need to be put back into the community, that it's not through neglect of anybody that we are in drought and that our water restrictions are going to be looked at, probably going to 6. The other confusion in the community is that restrictions are all different for every local government area. So we're in 5A. Why, or other parts of our own close region, Bathurst and Dubbo, are in different levels of restriction. All of the things that we've done as a council, the community are saying, why are we in 5A and these other communities close to us are in level 2? It's just because they're the types of restrictions that we've done as policy in this to try and stave off and protect our water supply because they're high, have rivers. They've survived off their river. Bathurst, the Wellingtons, the Dubbos and other areas. But now they're getting to a point where if it doesn't rain shortly, then they're going to be in dire straits as well. So the simple fact is here, we represent the community. As I say, there's a number of different people that we all talk to. They've all got different concerns and it's our job to come together, even if we all know about perception. Reality is perception. We come together as a group, not to argue about whether we should be here tonight or not, we're talking about the issue in Orange. We're actually talking about it, we're doing something about it, and we need to potentially improve the way we communicate and probably answer some questions may not have been answered. If they have been answered, it doesn't hurt to get it out there again. Councillor Duffy asks a number of questions. Councillor Duffy, I'd like you to let each question be answered before you move on to the next one, right? I'm slow and I'm old, right? It would be good to get some answers to those questions. It's probably impossible for the staff to answer some of them because there's so many that you have and they're good questions. It would be good to just focus on one at a time and get a bit of briefing on each one as we go along. But that's all I'd like to say, Mr Mayor. The community is scared, they're worried, and fact of the matter, it's in God's hands. We're doing all that we possibly humanly can to provide the services and water that are available to us in this region. Most of us that have lived on the land for a long time, this is nothing new to us. We've put in plans to try and protect ourselves as well, not from water because we're not on town water supply. Certainly, we're doing the best we can, and I think that's what we need to keep assuring the community. And if they have got questions, social media, I'd like the staff to consider. I know we're opening a can of worms sometimes. I'm sure our media staff are quite well versed on how to deal with.
Just for Councillor Turner gets up, just a point of clarification. There's been 2 comments said, 2 different councillors. One councillor said that we're on level 5A. We're not. There is no level 5A. And another one said that we're on level 6, and we're not. Thirdly, what we've been talking about, no rain, no inflow, nothing happening, we'd have to look at level 6 in May. That's the facts. What's been said here tonight is quite confusing amongst councillors, let alone what's saying outside there. Councillor Turner.
Thanks, Mr Mayor. Just very briefly, again, as a couple of other councillors have already intimated, congratulations to our senior staff, because we've got no idea the amount of work that they are putting in behind the scenes. As far as, I can imagine the amount of hours talking to government departments as far as the Wangler, the connection with Lake Roland, the pipeline from Spring Creek. Got no idea how many hours have been spent, and I congratulate the staff for all the work they've done that way. I also congratulate the general public in Orange for how they've adopted with some entrepreneurial skills the water restrictions that we have, and the amount of people that are putting buckets in their showers, the amount of people that are recycling their washing machine water, with all these innovative ideas with hoses running everywhere, and the people that have put tanks in. And my daughter put a tank in last week. I think it's 3,000 litre, I think. And after that rain we had last week, she had 17 mils. I only had 6 out at Clifton Grove. But anyway, we're my better luck this week. But of course she went out to tap on the tank to see how much water she had and couldn't tell the difference of where it was full and where it was empty. Council staff went out because she's applied for the rebate, and that would be one query. Why haven't more people applied for the rebate that's available? She applied for the rebate. A councillor staffer came out, and because she mentioned that she had this problem, couldn't work it out. The councillor staffer said, "No, Karen, not up here, down here." She only got about that much in the bottom of the tank. But anyway, people are adopting and taking all sorts of measures. Some people are not doing any watering at all. Some are doing whatever they can on special trees and special plants, whatever it might be. So I congratulate the people. One question I do have is, what is the main reason, as far as we've only got 1 hour on a Sunday evening, why haven't we had flexibility all the way through? Is it so that some people do an hour at 8 o'clock in the morning and an hour at 5 o'clock in the afternoon and things like that? Why didn't we have some flexibility in the first place?
Would you like to answer?
Yeah, it's a progressive tightening of the restrictions as far as the garden watering goes. So we have a base or default level 2 restriction which talks about watering every other evening and morning on an odds and even system. That's when we're in level 2 restrictions. Gets a little tighter under level 3, a little tighter again under level 4, a little tighter again under level 5. So it's just that progressive tightening of the timeframes and when you can water. I've said in the report that I'm open to considering a trial where we would continue to monitor the usage if it was in council, if council did determine to provide more flexible watering. But I certainly wouldn't want to go backwards on it as a definite step without actually having a trial first.
I think there needs, excuse me, Councillor Turner, I think there needs to be a very good, clear message out there that it's not an easing of restrictions at all. I only still get that half hour, but you can...
No, but the flexibility is there. Yeah.
Say that in a moment. You finished, Councillor Turner? Yeah. Look, just before I say something, I will clarify another comment that was made too. There are 3 councillors missing tonight that have apologised. Remembering that we discussed this in December and we said there were no council meetings in January, which there normally isn't, and they had prior arrangements. So did I. I've come back from Nyngan. But Councillor Hamling is on holidays with his family, which was booked 6 months ago. Councillor Miletto has work commitments, which were booked. Unfortunately, Councillor Previteria is quite ill at the moment and came in and saw myself and the General Manager over a week ago, and he's on extended leave. I hope that all councillors can honour people have different commitments, remembering that we all have various commitments and things that can actually happen, and I can recall other meetings that people couldn't attend because they had commitments, and that's fair enough. Can I just say, with Councillor Duffy's questions, some of those we'll take on notice and we'll get back, because some of those do need clarification, because get into the argument here because they're totally incorrect. Some of them, not all of them. Secondly, we have had reports come in here about the water at Lucknow. Quite an extensive report, actually. We all got, and members of the public were given that report about Lucknow. I don't know how many times the same question's been asked in this chamber about desilting dams and the process and whether it's worthwhile, etc. and so forth. And I remember quite distinctly going back to the previous director answering the question, our current director answering the question. That is on record also. With the
Point of order, Mr Mayor, that is what your statement is correct as far as the desilting of dams is concerned. I asked the question in this chamber only a couple of months ago.
Councillor Taylor,
Councillor
Taylor, I have the floor. Thank you. Now, with with the questions that were asked, we'll get those answered by the director and his team. But I would also like to say that I've been in a position and just seen how much incredible amount of work has gone into this water. I find it amazing with the media. I don't think there's been a week that the CWD hasn't run a story on water. Perhaps 2 or 3 a week. That includes Orange City Life has done it. ABC has done it. Commercial radio stations have done it. The community radio station has done it. And in fact, sitting on my desk I brought home with me tonight, they ran a double-page story in their equivalent of the Dubbo City Life on Orange and what we've been doing and getting stuck into their council about what they perhaps should be doing. So I agree with the councillor saying, is there more we can do media-wise? I don't know. If the television stations are willing to come in here and every day and do a story, the media are willing to come in here every day and do a story and with the staff and we can give them whatever. Only too happy, but it's up to the media and that. But I do know that it is on our website and I do know that at least monthly, at a minimum, a report comes to this council. All councillors here and anyone from the public can get copies of that. Goes into our storage levels, the amount of water that's been used weekly and monthly. I can't think of too many other places that give all that sort of information, which gives you the opportunity of working out where we stand. We also give out what the water usage is. One thing I agree again with what you said, and we are pursuing this, and I think it was Councillor Whitten asked the question, I agree. It's a dog's breakfast around the state with restrictions, what they mean in different places, between levels 5, 4, 3, 2 and 1, and what you're allowed to and what you're not allowed to do. It's an absolute dog's breakfast. It's quite confusing, particularly if you're going away on holidays or something or moving towns to live. You're quite confused, but I know that is being looked at coming out of this. It's plain simple facts about the water is that we've got a drought, a severe drought. There's usually one solution to a drought, and unfortunately that happens to be rain. Now, the Macquarie is virtually just trickling at the moment. Had a look at the river at Wellington. I had a look at the river at Dubbo. Yeah, certainly big changes are going to occur in some of those city to our left at the moment. It's happening in Bathurst, but it's happening all across the state. So I think with part 1 of the motion, that residents be advised of all the details immediately and so forth, that's fine. But any councillor's got any suggestions on how we can do it better or how we can do it more regularly, please let the staff know. With the social media, I just really don't know. I don't look at the social media anymore because there's keyboard warriors out there and trolls who it wouldn't matter if you stood on your head, lowered the rates down to 0, they'd still have some complaint about what we're actually doing. I think you've got to look at the majority of sensible people who can read, who do watch TV or who do listen, who do care. I don't think we can respond to every single one. If I had to, I'd be spending 3 or 4 hours a day responding to the comments that we get. But I do know some of those comments, if it comes back to our website, are responded to. Yeah, so some of those are responded to. I've seen those that are actually responded to. So if you could split the motion into 2, say if we look at that motion, number 1 is that, yeah, we're all in favour of...
A reply, Mr Chairman.
Oh, sorry, right of reply. Yeah, okay. No, just before you do. Is it okay we split this into 1 and 2? Is everyone happy with that?
Yep.
Show of hands, please. Yes?
Yeah, I'm going to vote yes for both of them.
3. Yeah, that's fine, but I'm just asking a question.
Okay, me right of reply, Mr Mayor. As I said, 10 years ago, we're in this same predicament. Let me first of all say that, number one, I'm not having a crack at staff. I'm sure both the General Manager and the Director of Infrastructure or Engineering, and even you, Mr Mayor, we don't need to come here and have a swipe at you. I can go into those offices and have a swipe at you, which I've done on occasion. I think yesterday was a good example, talking about some insurance and that type of stuff. But I do want to know what the 12 projects are. I read about it in the paper. I want to know those. I do want to know that. And is one of those projects a report that went to the Minister about a dam on the Macquarie River? Those projects. I don't know. That's what I'm asking the question, and I've asked other councillors about what we're doing. But as to going to what had happened 10 years ago, our city has increased by 2,500 houses 10 years ago. Wait another 10 years before we do something about big storage like a dam. And I moved the motion in this chamber just before Christmas, a little bit before Christmas, and we had one councillor vote against it, building a dam to give us water security. And we can use that pipeline as much as we like. I mean, that's what the cold hard facts. If we need another 10 years, it's going to be around about 2,500 to 3,000 houses if we keep going. And remember, 3 years ago, at the end of 2016, that dam out there was overflowing. Everywhere was overflowing. People's had tanks and everything. They were all overflowing everywhere. But here we are and I question the fact, we're less than 21%. I don't question the fact that what the amount is in the volume. I question the amount of usable, what is there. If I go to the website at the moment, I look at the storage, and all of a sudden Lake Canobolas and Gosling Creek have disappeared. You know, they're not on there anymore. Have a look. I don't know what the situation is. It might just need updating.
Right up.
Someone's pulled a plug on them, I don't know. But that's what I'm getting at. And there's a lot of things we can do. As one as regards to put what estimation of megalitres there. It's 33%. You think, hang on, that dam's pretty good. It's a fair bit of water in that. But 33% might only be 1,000 megalitres. They put the figure there. And then the public will know and they'll read these type of things here. But what are the 12 things and those type of things? And I said it a couple of times. But as regards to part 2, our workforce has changed to what it was in the 1970s, the 1980s, 1990s. And the elderly people's activities have changed as well, as of how they operate during the day. I think the flexibility is needed on that Sunday to let people have that go. Let's be fair. Our residents have been absolutely fantastic and we've absolutely praised the living daylights out of them. And there's probably no one more than the Mayor, because every time I say you should thank me, Mr Mayor, for giving you the opportunity to praise the residents of how well they handle water. And they're doing exceptionally, because everyone you talk to have always got something in the shower or catching the first 2 litres that comes out of the shower and putting it on a plant or those sort of things. But my other question goes back to, why aren't we buying water now and watering some of our trees that are actually dying up Woodward Street and the new roundabout? They're nearly all dead. I could put replacing all those there. But I go back to the situation is, what happens when doomsday comes? What have we got in place? Why do we have to wait for doomsday to work out something to get water? And that's where I'm getting at. Because people are saying, hang on, we're going to run out on a certain date. Whether it be the 1st of December or the 1st of November or the 1st of July or 1st of January, it could happen. What we've got in place to get to where's that water coming? We're going to be trucking in. It's all right for places like Stanthorpe in Queensland. They can bring there. There's only 4,000 people. 43, 44 here relying on it. But just emotions are there, and I just think we should, as councillors, we should know a little bit more than not read about it in the paper as well.
The General Manager wants to make a comment.
Oh, look, it's difficult for staff under these circumstances. We might, if that's okay, take Councillor Duffy's live stream and analyse it for those questions and come back to Council. Can I just say something on a staff to support my staff in 2020? I hear it. I hear what you're saying, okay? I am listening to what you're saying about information, about projects. There are many more press releases to come. One of the press releases coming up soon will be about projects. And the 12 projects I talked about on last Thursday are now 19 projects. I think emphasises that staff are looking for solutions. We have Mr Reader and Ellie Bryce full-time on media. So that's 2 people full-time on media. So we're making sure we've got resources to cover to cover what you're asking for. We're running campaigns in newspapers. We've got 19 projects. We'll report that back to you soon, Councillor, on the progress of those. No, a dam on the Macquarie is not one of the projects council staff are working on. It's not in our shire. The state government tends to work on those. We did write a letter as you requested, and we'll throw our support as needed. We had water forums last year. We've not done that before. Over the next 2 days, we've got 4 water forums for business and the community. In light of your comments tonight, we'll be thinking about what the community says, and we'll listen carefully whether we need to change our tack on communications.
Can you repeat when they're on?
Sorry, that's 12:30, Wednesday 12:30, Wednesday 5:30, Thursday 12:30, Thursday 5:30. Mr Marshall, under Mr Greenham, is embarking on the 50 audits, and we've put another staff member to help him, and that's working towards industry and commercial action in reducing water use. We did say in the media release that we didn't want to hook a council onto the previously defined level 6, and we reserve the right to work on it. We'll come to you as soon as we can when we see the results of the audits of the non-residential sector. So there's no point having restrictions that are pointless. We want to have targeted restrictions. The state government, we continue to meet. The drought coordinator, Mr McTavish, comes up. Rest assured we're doing all we can to work with them. You talk about the doomsday scenario. That is something that the state government drought coordinator is working on in a number of towns, not Orange. And we work with Central Tablelands Water and Cabon and Blaney to make sure we're working on regional solutions, and with Centrock and Cowra. I just wanted to say that we are working on this as a number 1 priority.
Okay, well, look, we've got split it into 2. Motion 1. All in favour? The motion is that residents be advised of all details immediately of our water supply. Look, sorry. Can I ask the movers to change that to level 6? There is no level 5A. Is that okay? Yep.
You can change the word there to our too. I don't think it's much.
Change the word immediately as well. It's
Residents be advised, no, okay, that's okay.
No, we won't change that one.
All right, okay. All in favour? Yeah. Against? Five or against, the motion is lost. Now, motion 2. The council provides time of day flexibility for Sunday watering. There is a report there from Graham.
Page 7.
That's on page 7. Page 7 in these. Right.
Oh, motion 2. So
Yeah.
I thought we're moving 1 and 2 together. Of the 12 months.
But I'll give you a chance to write a reply on this, yeah?
All right.
Give you a chance to write a reply on it. How's that?
We separated them.
Separated.
Yeah, but it was a motion. It was a part when everyone spoke.
That's everyone spoke to. I'm quite happy.
Councillor Taylor, I apologise profusely to you.
Say that again.
I'm big enough to do that sort of thing. Sit down, councillor. All right. Motion number 2. All in favour?
Can I
No.
clarify what we're...
You're voting on motion 2.
What is the flexibility that we're...
And B, yeah.
As written by Councillor Greenham.
Mr Chair, can I speak?
Yes, you can.
I would suggest the motion is as per, currently would be as per Mr Greenham's recommendation on the bottom 7, top 8. He says, I quote, if council wishes to extend it further, then I would go as far as supporting a morning watering between 6 a.m. and 8 a.m.
Flexibility. I
Comes
class
the
that as
motion.
flexibility.
That council provide time of day flexibility for Sunday watering and allow watering also between 6 and 8 a.m.
Resolution by Mr.
Right.
Is that
So, clarification, 6 and 8 at night and 6 and 8 in the morning.
You can water in either of those time periods, but you can
30.
still got to stick to restrictions, which is 1 hour of watering and half an hour of that is with a hose with a nozzle
Mr.
on it.
Greenham was suggesting it should be, and I would it must be
It's a trial.
a trial, and
Yeah.
that doesn't say that in the motion.
But that's a matter for you, councillors.
I know what the problem is.
Can I move
It's
an
flexible.
addendum that it's for a trial? Is that okay?
Just leave it as it
We did
is.
take the motion with it as a trial?
What, 1 month, say, for instance, Mr.
Well,
3 months. But I'm happy
Level
with
6
the way
by
it is.
then.
We can.
I'll move that we have a trial for 1 month. I've got a seconder?
We'll do 1 month.
All in favour? Right,
All right, we're all in favour.
okay, the motion's up. Okay, 1 month. My apologies. Two. Right. Notice of motion 2.2 is the Cook Park Duck Pond water.
Yeah, I'm happy to move that, Mr. Chairman. I'm moving on for 2 reasons. Number one, I've got to be a little bit critical of council because the way we've let our 2 major parks go when we sit right behind us is a museum. It's greener than Paddington Island. And you look across there and it's in terrible repair. A lot of things are dying, and the same with Cook Park. You get that impression when you go past. I have noticed a Cook Park duck pond going down for a number of months, nearly back as far as mid-October. It's been going down and down and down. Now, the other big reason, I fully understand the ducks can go out the road a little bit and go to the Boranor Dam or the Molon Creek Dam or go to even the hallowed turf of the Ploughman's Lane Lake. But I do notice that in Bathurst, Macquarie Park and George Park are as green as, and they were watering today. I took photos of the sprinklers going. And I had a number of people on the bus, adults that pay the full fare all the way down there. They said to me, and other people at Bathurst have said to me, it is absolutely fantastic where they can go into somewhere in one of their iconic parks that they're there and just feel as though they're in an oasis, give themselves a bit of mental stimulation to what we're actually going through. I think the same thing as regards to what Cook Park and even Robinson Park is that as well. Should be maintaining those because they are historical sites and the trees and all those type of things there we should be doing everything about that, and they should be green. Now, as we mentioned before, everyone said what a great job our residents and ratepayers are doing in regards to water restrictions and all those type of things and water usage, better than anywhere else in the state, I probably would say. Let's reward them for something because, we're spending $30,000 down at a swimming pool for a couple of little floaty things that are going around down there. Come on, why can't we put that money into watering our major parks? I totally believe in supporting our ratepayers and giving them the mental stimulation to be a little bit better. I have a lot of friends in the rural areas, and I know a number from Canowindra and some other these places have spoke to me about the black dog. The kid situation is going through here now. So why not have something where a family can bring these kids in to sit down there somewhere and just feel like they've been in an oasis for a while so they can get away from somewhere else. It's just, to me, it's a no-brainer what should happen.
Councillor Duffy, Councillor Taylor.
Just quickly, Mr Mayor, I'd imagine, I couldn't imagine too many people having a big problem with this. It's about the ambience of the park and giving people a bit of relief. You drive around Orange at the moment and we're like everywhere across the state. We're pretty dry and ugly at the moment, but the fact of the matter is if you've got the park there, you've got the ducks there, it's not going to require an enormous amount. A lot of families, old people get a lot of pleasure out of that park, and I think token that the autumn, and it can be an oasis away from the hot, dry summer that we're currently experiencing.
Look, before I have any other speakers, because I might just shut it down a little bit, the contractor is coming on Friday to take the sludge and that away. That contractor, that's part that we have to do. The cleaning out of that pond does have to be done yearly to comply with EPA environmental rules and health rules. And once that's out of there on Friday, the duck pond will be filled up.
Works are in train, yep.
Yes, Mr.
So
Mayor,
you're
just
speaking for it or against it?
question.
No, that's different. Question, right?
Question. I was basically just going to ask that question. From reading the staff comment, it's already happening. It's already going to happen. Just wanted to confirm that was the case.
Yep.
Second issue was that Councillor Duffy talked about the trees dying, and when I walk through Cook Parks, there's a number of those sort of water
IBCs, yeah.
that are in place, keep watering some of the key trees. Can we have a brief explanation about what is being done to maintain the trees and maintain Cook Park? If there's someone available to do so.
I'll take that on notice.
Okay.
Motion.
Okay. The motion that the Cook Park duck pond water be maintained at full capacity. All in favour? Yes, because it's been done. That's a good motion.
Mr. Mayor, just a clarification, just a matter arising on that. I can recall there was an article in the Central Western Daily a few weeks ago saying that the pond was drained because of the drought. Or it was not drained, but the water levels were down and it wasn't going to be replenished. There was an article. A couple of workers in a photo.
I can correct. The ponds went for their yearly clean, but the intention was always to refill.
Yeah, but I think we should have a look and just find that article, because I'm pretty sure that article said that the pond was.
I'm a bit short on that stuff.
Christmas or
before Christmas.
Before Christmas, yeah, I'll get them to have a look. Okay.
I'm a bit short on stuff.
I'm going to go near that one, okay.
All in favour? Oh, we did that. Sorry. 2.3, the Aquatic Centre admission fee.
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
2020.
I'm happy to move that one as well for the free weekends. For the free weekend I don't swim myself.
Know that. Seconder? Councillor Taylor.
Over the summer, we've seen where the pool has been closed for various different reasons. I'm not going to go into those reasons, whether I agree with them or whether I don't. But again, I go back to the supporting of the ratepayers who, I just give an example. On the 22nd of December, it was one of the hottest days of the year, and we had the pool closed. And again, a lot of people went to go down there. Some were asked to leave and all those things because it was closed. We have a situation at 5:30 of an afternoon, even on this afternoon, on the Monday, where the clubs are down there swimming and the pool is closed at 5:30. And when the mainstream of our residents at work, and it's a hot afternoon, when do they want to go down to the pool to cool down? 5:30 in the afternoon when the sun's not beaming down, because there's not all that much shade out in the grass and all those places there. Have a look at what's out there. So this is a bit of a reward, again, for the residents and ratepayers for digging in and supporting themselves. But it's also a reward for them for putting up with us for closing the pool on a number of occasions, whether we agree with the way it was on everything's there. As for the funding, well, we found $14,000 very smartly for archery thing down there. It turned up somehow. I mean, sure the same accountant can find the same money for that. So, yeah.
Just a point of clarification for me, what's the archery thingy-ding down there?
Money in the budget for the archery, $14,000.
There was $14,000 allocated to the indoor archery at the showground. Yeah.
Councillor Macquarie.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Just speaking of the budget as raised by Councillor Duffy, look, I think it's important that we do plan ahead for the budget. So perhaps some might say this is a knee-jerk response to a nearby council providing free pool access at periods of time in the recent months. Maybe it's also linked to the smoke issues Orange has had and the workplace health and safety responses Orange has had by closing the facility when the smoke was unsafe for staff to work in the area. Of course, the knee-jerk response might only be reports in local media, and as we've just recently discussed, perhaps the media isn't always accurate, but I won't necessarily harp on that. But if we are going to plan ahead for the future budget and not call extraordinary meetings every year when we decide that we want to have free pool entry on the Australia Day long weekend, the councillors might include these in their budget bids. for the future so that we don't need to find the money in the future, but can indeed plan ahead for such generous gifts to our community of free pool access at peak times of demand and encourage them to be healthy and active in our summer periods.
Councillor Nugent and then
Thanks,
Councillor
Mr. Mayor.
Taylor.
Look, I'm happy to support the motion. I don't like the idea of being a thank you or a acknowledgement to the public about having the pool closed. I don't think that's the reason. I think we should be clear about what the reason is that we're doing this. And to me, the reason is to say thank you to the people of Orange for their efforts in saving water and reducing their consumption of water to help us, to help the city, to sort of stave off those level 6 water restrictions that we've been talking about. So I think that's the reason. I think that should be clearly communicated if we are going to do this. I don't think it should be about saying sorry for closing the pool when we close the pool for very good reasons. The other thing I would sort of be interested in, and this was a thought I'd had about acknowledging and thanking our volunteer firefighters who live in the City of Orange or maybe in the surrounding areas, and whether we could, $15,000 could go a long way to saying providing a free family or a 3-month family pass or an individual pass to our firefighters who have been out there fighting fires in different parts of the state. So while I'm happy to support this motion, I'd probably also like to see consideration of that. And as Councillor Macquarie has said, maybe that's something we should be looking at in terms of our future budget bids.
Thanks, Councillor Taylor.
Yeah, look, I'm happy to support this, Mr. Mayor. And look, I do in part believe that we doing this in part for my closing the pool. The public were inconvenienced. Days as councillor stuff. So I make no apologies for that. Just back a little bit to the public. Also, the fact about putting it in the budget. Well, this is the first time we're doing this. Not in the budget. And council doesn't return until February the 4th, so it would need a resolution to actually do this. That's why it's part of this extraordinary meeting. The 26th, weekend of the 26th, will occur, or the 4th.
I'd support it. I don't feel comfortable about it. The main reason I don't feel comfortable about it is answering the question to the people that go out of their way and buy seasonal tickets for their families or family tickets, and that's a cost. And, I suppose with budgeting and then we say the pool's open. With the closing of the pools at various times, unfortunate things happened, and that can be, and I know some of those have been dirty nappies in the pool. We have to close it down. We've got no option. We're told that's a compliance thing. I know the one on that hot day because my grandchildren were here and that was a matter of smoke. Now, I do know also the last 2 weeks they've called off a couple of cricket games. They've called off a couple of tennis matches. And I imagine there were people there that had paid quite a bit of money to be at those events. I don't know whether they got it back or not. But certainly sometimes things have to close down. And I think it's an operational matter, and I trust our staff to be doing what has to be done. I don't think we've got the expertise in here to make that decision. But I'd be quite happy if this was for Australia Day itself, 26th, but I'm not really comfortable for the 3 days. So Munro.
In saying that, Mayor, I'd like to make an amendment. I think on Australia Day, I think we should open the pool free. Go down to after Cook Park. They go to Cook Park. On the other two dates, I would agree with. I hope my councillors agree with me. Children, pensioners, and people that were hard or benefit could out of the pool free. But if you can afford it, like I wouldn't. If I go to the pool with my kids, I'd pay. I think for those 2 days, Australia Day is a different thing. I think if we have.
You're moving an amendment or not?
I'd like to move an amendment that we have
it's for
Australia Day is slather, everyone gets in there free. And the other 2 days are for children. To those 2, and if you can, I don't know how you do it. Maybe.
I'll second the amendment.
I just
The
think
discussion. Anyway.
I just think it's we've got to be responsible. We've got to show given something, and most of the patrons are going to be children anyway. If you want to go with your grandchildren, take them on those days. Well, then you get in free. That's. I just think if you can afford it, only if you Bob. That's the amendment I'd like to make. So we get open slather for 26th, open to the public, and then on the other 2 dates that we have children and pensioners for.
Yeah, I'll get them. I'll just get it read out for you, Councillor.
It would be that our free admission to the Aquatic Centre for Australia Day, and that the other 2 days, being the 25th and the 26th, 27th rather, be free for children and concession card holders.
Okay. That's the amendment. Councillor Whitten.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I'll speak against the amendment for the simple fact that this creates a nightmare for staff. They've got to police this. Keep it simple. Everyone in for free. Do it on one day free and then another day children and pension card holders. Then you've got to physically have someone there. Yeah, but if it's free for the whole day, then they don't have to worry about it. You're creating work for the people. I can remember a time when it was always free. And the community owned it and they went for nothing. And I know times have changed but keep it simple.
Okay.
Why do we always have to make
Mr
things
Mayor,
difficult?
can I foreshadow a further amendment?
Yeah.
Which would be just for Australia Day only.
Fair enough.
Free for admission.
All right, amendment Australia Day only.
Can I discuss with the mover?
Can I just? Yeah, sure.
I just want a clarification first. Is the pool closed on Monday or Tuesday night from 5:30 for the quad training?
Councillor Duff, that's got nothing to do with the motion. Nothing.
I'm asking you a question.
I'll get that in a minute, but
is it closed?
let's get through the motions and the amendments. It's got nothing to do with this. It's got nothing to do with
I
it.
could change my mind because I probably want to support one and not the other.
Nothing to do with these motions, and you can ask that question after we get through this. So we've got foreshadowed amendment, but you were asking, could you talk
Mr
to...
Mayor, I'd ask the mover, Councillor Duffy, if he'll accept the 26th and just to change the motion to be the 26th.
26th, that's...
What happy if the second of the motion was that? They get something.
Yeah.
Right, so
so
they're
it's just
willing.
one
So
motion.
we've got a motion that the pool be open for free admission on Australia Day the 26th. Is that...
Happy with that?
Got an amendment, but we
To withdraw that?
Yep.
Right,
yours
okay.
is on, and
So
Councillor
we've
Turner's
just got
on.
the motion, which is Australia Day the 26th. Okay, all in favour, hands please.
Right, a reply.
Now, Councillor Duffy has a question he'd like.
My question was, and it's related to the debate as well, because is the pool closed for the public, the large pool, on a Monday or a Tuesday night from 5:30 where they cannot access that pool, the general public, or then on a Thursday night for water polo in the public pool? Is that true?
Through Mr Chair, taken on notice. I
No,
don't
no,
think any staff member would know that
Mr.
tonight. I'm
Warner's
sorry, I
not
haven't
here.
got the right staff here.
I've got photos of signs you can't come in.
Taken on notice.
So why'd you ask the question?
Maybe you take it on notice.
And I think it does depend whether it's
Bring it
winter or
back to a
summer.
council meeting.
Two pools and which
Will do.
pool. We'll come back to you.
We'll do.
Two public pools.
Okay.
Talk about it tomorrow.
Mr Mayor, just a question through you to the staff regarding the duck droppings at the pool. I've been notified by several members of the community that the kids are actually walking through it and then taking it into the water with them. That's how bad it's got out. It's got down there. Have we on top of that?
Get him to have a look at it.
If I can take that on notice.
I'll chase that up for
There
sure.
was a time when we were very much on top of it,
No residents have rang in about it?
not to the best of my knowledge. We got the
Okay.
wrong staff.
I
Sorry,
thought
Councillor.
that, it would have been, somebody would have been told. But I saw some photos of it and it's pretty bad. Just going back to what Councillor Duffy said, they closed the pool somebody said for a nappy, but yet they wouldn't consider closing it for duck poo. I don't know the difference, but
Different sorts of fecal organisms.
I'm quite happy to have.
I'll close the council meeting at 8:20.
council nothing will speak.